Welcome back to the Shop Mini RC, everybody. I'm Ken, and today we're taking our Power Wagon, totally stock, and we're going to be doing some stuff to it. First thing is going to be this guy here, the Furitek brushless, they're calling it the starter setup. It comes with the Venom motor and a Lizard Pro ESC, and it'll drop right into this guy. It should be pretty sweet, so that's exciting. And then some kind of basic brass upgrades from Axial, just kind of showing you what Axial has to offer. These knuckles and knuckle weights look sick, so that's exciting to put on there, plus some diff covers and some wheel hexes. So we're going to throw all this stuff on as well. Should be exciting. So let's get started with the brushless motor, and we'll see where we go from there. All right, so we've already got our body kind of taken off. We have a full review on this guy. Check it out right over here. Pretty cool, this new truck. The body is neat. The rear and the front are two separate pieces, so that's cool if you want to do like a half cab or use the bed for something else or whatever. Do a dump truck because it's supposed to be hinged. Pretty fun. So, but we're going to go ahead and remove this for now. And we've already got our transmission removed as well. So I just want to show you real quick how this guy comes out in case you've never done this before. There's two screws here on the bottom. Super simple. And one screw right here on the top. It's going to be right on this side, and then the guy pops right out. Then there's four screws on this cover, two on the back, and then two on the lower front, and that cover comes right off. Okay, and this is what you end up with. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. So all we're going to have to do is pop off our spur and the motor plate here, and the motor, and then we'll be able to put our Furitek system on there. Let's go ahead and get that Furitek system opened up. If you've never ran a brushless system, I say this all the time, if you've never ran a brushless system, it is a world of difference in how the truck feels, just the low-end torque, the control that you have in your finger. I mean, you just have so much more control over the way the truck handles. You know, you can get that with a brushless or a brushed setup if you have like a good ESC, but when you take it a good ESC and a good motor, oh man, it's kind of next level. And this is a fantastic starter set for a brushless system. And I think that this truck is a really good candidate because the SCX24 Power Wagon, this newest one, comes with this electronics setup, which has a channel 2 in it, which means you can plug your brushless system straight in without having to change out your remote and your electronics, all that stuff. You can basically just plug it in, you're good to go. So that's really cool. Historically, when you want to go brushless, you have to put in a new remote and a new receiver. And so this just makes it super easy. You literally can buy the truck, buy this combo. I think the combo is like 90 bucks, maybe even less. I don't like saying prices because they always change, but we'll put a link in the description below to check out the combo on Furitek's site. And yeah, you can definitely pick them up very cheap. And the Venom motor is just, it's kind of a, again, it's a beginner or starter motor. It's what comes on the new Furitek ready to run. So it is lower cost. I think the materials on it are a little, you know, cheaper to produce and things of that nature. So they're able to get the price down pretty good on these guys, but it's a fantastic motor. It doesn't have quite the machining, and the motor mount is a lot more simplified than Micro Komodo, but it's essentially the same as a Micro Komodo. Some say you can run 3S on it. I don't know about these electronics. I would not run 3S on this right now. There is an update, so if you get one of these, make sure you do your update and all that kind of stuff on the app. We'll show that later. But yeah, it's a really good motor for the price, for sure. For your first kind of step into brushless, especially if you have one of these guys, this is a perfect way to get in. The best part is it comes with the Lizard Pro. And the Lizard Pro is kind of the proven SCX24 small scale crawler ESC. I mean, this guy is fantastic. And what's great about that is if you want to upgrade to like a mini Komodo or a cedar motor or a Micro Komodo, this ESC will handle it for you. You don't have to upgrade your ESC again later. Now this little kit comes with everything you need to, like I said, just drop it right in. And so let's go ahead and get all of our screws out here, and I will show you what it takes to get a brushless motor installed on our SCX24. So the first thing we're going to need to do is change out our motor plate and motor mount, which is this guy here. So the SCX24 comes with just this black plate, and to run the Micro Komodo or the Venom or any of the others, you need kind of a a motor mount that's specific for that. So we're going to go ahead and be able to pull that off. First thing we got to do though is pull off our spur. And that is just a 4mm nut right there. We'll leave it in there, that's fine. Oh, you know what? We're going to have to get our drive shaft off. So use your 1.3mm hex driver and get your drive shaft pulled out. Just something to note on this little spur gear, one side has a little bit more of a protrusion than this side. The nipple on it sticks out more on this side than this side, and that's the side that goes in. So just remember that. The part that sticks out a little more goes towards the motor mount, all right? And then we're able to just pull all this out. You don't have to pull the motor off the motor plate if you don't want to. You can just use your 1.3 to kind of get in here. Take these two screws out and the whole motor plate should come right off. Okay. Whoa. Well, there's the inside of the transmission. And there's the other side. Okay, so yeah, be aware that those two screws are also what's holding the whole transmission together. So now we'll be able to take our motor mount here. Actually, we need to pull our screws off of this kind of carbon plate. They are Phillips heads, unfortunately. So we'll switch over to Phillips driver. And then this guy can drop right on there. We can put our screws back in. Okay, super simple. Take our spur, protruding side down, throw it on top, and put our nut back on. Now, as you do this, you kind of want to test to make sure that things aren't binding and that everything still feels nice and loose like it's supposed to. If you kind of throw everything together and don't test as you go, and you get it all together and you have some binding and you don't know why, you kind of got to troubleshooting that is a pain in the butt because you got to go back through everything. So I highly recommend as you're building it, make sure you feel, does everything feel smooth? Is there binding? Should be good. All right. There's nothing here that we've done that should really create binding. So I wouldn't stress too much on that. So the motor now mounts on the forward facing side. So it's going to be a little bit different. The previous motor mounted on this side, like so. But now we're going to be mounting on the opposite side. Okay, so it's going to be forward facing versus rear facing. You can't really put it on the rear because it will rub on the transmission. So let's go ahead and get our little carbon fiber plate back on here. Okay, and this is why we test. Look at this. It is rubbing. So we have to loosen our plate a little and maybe try to scoot it over a tad. Are we on backwards? Maybe we're on upside down or something. Hold on. The nut is rubbing up against the carbon fiber plate. So hold on. Again, that's why we test along the way. I mean, that's not right. It definitely goes this way. Very close. It's very close to the nut. It definitely rubs on the nut. Why is that so? Maybe we need to come in here and just trim this out a little bit. Maybe if Furitek watches this video, they can take note and kind of make their plate hole a little bit bigger here. Okay. Let's try now. All right, let's try now. Yeah, a little bit more trimmed out. Get our screw in. We're going to leave the screw kind of loose for now. Get our other screw in, and then we'll see if we're rubbing on the nut there. Maybe that screw a little loose, so you can slide it over. You can see where it's rubbing right there. There we go. We're good now. If we push on it, it rubs. But we're going to go ahead and try to tighten it while it's pushed away. It's almost like doing your mesh. You need to have it spaced just a little bit. Perfect. Yeah, they just need this hole to be a little bit this way. I think it's a little off. But that's kind of typical with these cars. Whenever you're doing upgrades, it always takes a little bit of trimming or sanding or something. Something's always just a tiny bit off. All right, guys. Looking good. So now our motor mounts on this side, and we just need to kind of think about how we want our wire to come out. So let's look here. So pretty typical with dropping in one of these systems into stock axial, with the exception of the AX24 actually. You do have to make room. So we're going to have to move our ESC. We'll probably put it in the back, put our battery towards the front. We got to move some things around a little bit so that we can make the motor fit. It's a forward-facing motor, so you can do that. You can also, you know, if you really wanted to, flip around your transmission and your skid, and it would go rear-facing, and then you can go this way. Maybe that's what we should do. I don't know. Let's see. The rear facing would have more room. We wouldn't have to move our ESC or anything, but you do have to flip your skid around. You know what? I think I want to do that. We're going to flip the skid and do it rear facing because I don't want to move the electronics. The cab sits on here just right. The battery sits just right. Let's test this. Curious if we're going to rub. See if we go like that. This will basically be in here. How much suspension travel do we have? Here, let's get this mounted on here first, and then we can check. So there's really only one way that this guy fits in here with this mounting plate, and it's going to be using these two smaller, the closer together holes, not these longer ones, but the shorty ones here. And then with your transmission and the Furitek logo, this is the top. You're going to put your wires coming straight out the top, okay? And you should be able to get the screw in here, get it started on your bottom hole. Don't make it tight, make it so you can still move it. Okay, and this is basically going to sit all the way down to your transmission. This screw should be all the way down. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and tighten it up just a little bit, not much, so that we're not wiggling around. Okay, and then you can adjust your mesh here. Okay, let's get our other screw in first, and then we'll start adjusting the mesh. All right, so I'll loosen this guy up a little bit again. We just need to be able to move it around. But you don't want it too sloppy. Okay, so one thing you got to be aware of, if you're angled this way, see how I can turn this? If I'm angled like this, this screw will actually hit the spur gear, or at least be very close to it. Okay, and you don't want to be hitting the spur gear with the screw. So you've got more room on this side, so go ahead and drop this side all the way down. And then you can go ahead and set your mesh by moving this up and down just a little bit. Okay, so you should be able to drop this all the way down, give it a little tight. Not tight, but again, so we're not engaged, which means we need to move this guy down. Okay, now we're engaged. It's a little too tight. So you're just going to make little tiny adjustments. And remember, as you tighten it, it's going to try to move. So try not to let it move, try to tighten it. Actually, it looks like we got it on the first try here. A little more tight. You don't want to over tighten these because they will strip. You can also use Loctite on there if you want, but just a little tiny bit. Now, the best way to try to do your mesh here is to hold your motor and the transmission housing so it doesn't move, right? And then you can use the spur here and you should be able to move that. And see how I've got just the tiniest bit of play in there? We need to get a little tighter, actually. So you can back it off and then try to scoot it in just a little bit. And if you have to back off this one just a little bit, you can. Again, it's kind of a back and forth adjustment where you're going to move your mesh in, test it. There we go, a little bit more. All right, that should be enough. Okay, and then we'll check. So we'll hold the motor so it doesn't move and see how it's got a little bit of movement in on the white gear. That's what we're looking for, just the tiniest bit though. If there's no wiggle there at all, then you're too tight, and well, you'll burn up a motor before you strip out gears. If you're too loose, you'll strip out gears. If you're too tight, you can overwork your electronics and your motor and stuff like that, so you'll overheat. All right, so that should be good. Let's see here. Yeah, that feels nice and smooth. Okay, and like I said before, I like to kind of test things along the way, so I'm actually going to go ahead and hook this guy up real quick. Go ahead and yellow side up, goes into channel 2, yellow wire up. That's your signal wire, by the way. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and plug this guy in. We'll plug our battery, now plugs into the ESC, not the transmit or the receiver. I'm going to hold this just in case something crazy happens. It's not flopping around on the desk. Then we'll go ahead and plug this guy in. And then we have a physical power switch that's on the ESC. We're no longer going to use this power switch. This will probably work even though it's turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my remote. And then I'm holding this motor just in case something crazy happens. We'll go ahead and turn this on. All right, our steering is working. And then just a little bit of throttle. There you go. Seems good. I am excited. And again, we got just a little bit of play in there, just the tiniest bit. So that's a good mesh. All right, guys, that's exciting. I love to see it work. I like to test it before it's all installed. That way we know where things failed. If something fails along the way, we know. All right, so now we have to figure out how we're going to mount this guy. Like I said, I think if we mount it forward, we're going to have to move our ESC because it's going to literally be right up in there. If we mount it backwards, we'll just have to trim a little bit of our battery tray because this should sit right about like so. And we can trim just a little bit of the battery tray. So I think we're going to do that. To do that, we have to flip the skid. Go away, antenna. We have to flip the skid around so that the motor will mount the opposite direction. And that just means we have to pull all of our links out here and our skid. So it's literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 screws. All right, guys? So if you need to, make a separate spot for the screws for here so you know how everything goes back together. But it's pretty simple. And we'll just pull them all apart and we'll flip it around. All right, now all of our links can come out and our skid can literally just be popped out, turned around, and put back in. Make sure you line up the little nubs that are sticking out. And you should be golden. Just remember your upper links go to the outside and your lower links go to the inside. If you do it the other way, you're going to have a totally messed up axle. And they use the longer screws. And the front's a lot easier. You won't get that mixed up because, well, the front uses the Y-link. And so the Y-link already has its width set. So again, the upper link goes to the outside, lower links go to the inside. They cross over. That triangulation, both on the rear and the front, the opposing triangulation of the links is what keeps the play out of the rear. If your links are parallel to each other and you don't have triangulation that's opposing, then you end up with a really sloppy axle. Okay, so You'll have a lot more stability with shorter, more angled triangulation than you would with the longer, less angled triangulation. So if you notice, your Gladiator or your Power Wagon's rears are a little bit more side-to-side sloppy. That's why. It's because they're a longer link set. Longer links, longer wheelbases in general can help a lot with, you know, inclines, going up inclines, and reaching obstacles a lot better than a short wheelbase, but you're more likely to high center, and generally, depending on the design of the chassis, if your chassis was designed for shorter wheelbase, you put long links on it, you're just going to introduce a lot of slop into the rear. So just keep that stuff in mind when you're doing upgrades. You're kind of changing things around. Okay, so get lower link to the inside. All right, there we go. We're all flipped around. And you can see here a little bit of what I'm talking about. This side-to-side movement, that's what I'm talking about. The longer the links, it's not even really the longer the links. It's the less opposing angles there are in that suspension geometry, the link geometry, the more you're going to move side to side. So theoretically, if these links were even further out, it would be worse, right? But if you're able to move the links here out to the further portion of the axle, you'd have a lot more stability. Moving these out, moving these in, making more of a triangle. Same with the upper links. You know, it's not just making this a triangle, it's making this an opposing triangle, right? So you want one triangle that goes this way and one triangle that goes this way, right? The outside links like this, or the upper links like this, the lower links like this. And the more you can get that, the less side-to-side slop you're going to have. Also, some of this has to do with it being a 4-link versus a 3-link. The 3-link is going to be a lot more stable, right? See how much movement we have there versus the front, right? Part of that's the Y-link here, so that's 3. But even if this were a 4-link, it's going to be pretty stable because of how angled these are. These are so much more angled than these, right? So there's the angle here, but then this one has the angle there, right? And then vice versa, right? You can see the lower links are barely angled, or the upper links on the rear, but the upper links here, a lot more angle. Okay. Anyway, I think you get the point. Just wanted to show you that, a little bit of education. All right, let's see how this fits in here. We're going to need to move this tray or cut the tray. We're going to have to switch our drive shaft also, so let's take this drive shaft off. Because we need the long drive shaft for the rear. Hopefully this didn't move our drive shafts too much and mean that we need to adjust the drive shaft lengths. That would be not a good day, depending on how the issue presented itself. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop these 2 screws out here on the side of the battery tray so we can lift the battery tray up. So 1, 2. And I love working on these things. I don't know what it is. There's just something, there's something about just like kind of getting in the zone and just kind of tinkering with them. And yeah, they're always different. They always have different problems depending on the platform or what you're trying to do. All right, so we need to make sure this is flat. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just install the motor now, get it nice and snug in there, and then we can figure out our battery tray and how it needs to be trimmed or whatever. And again, you can make this work forward-facing, but you'll have to move your ESC and the ESC mount. Okay, I wanted to go ahead and pause real quick for a second here and show you the forward mounted option, just so you didn't think this was the only way. If you do want to mount your motor forward, you're going to have to cut your ESC tray, just notch it out for the motor, and then you can put your Furitek ESC on that little extra platform, and the Spectrum receiver and ESC combo can then tuck between your battery tray and your transmission. You might have to also trim your battery tray just a little bit to get that ESC to fit, but I wanted to show you guys the other option if you wanted to forward mount and didn't want it to change a drive shaft. Again, we're doing ours rear mounted because we are specifically moving our battery forward. It will give you forward weight bias, which would be good. It helps your, the weight to the front, which is always a good thing, versus the weight to the back, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully our bed, curious. once this bed's on here, oh, we got plenty of space. Just wanted to make sure the bed wasn't like up to here, right? That would have been bad. But the bed's all the way back here, so we've got plenty of space there. We may have to change how we're going to do our battery. Maybe our battery's got to sit up higher, up towards the front. Make sure our links aren't hitting as well. Yeah, we're good on the links. Maybe we'll have to get some skids and we'll do batteries on the sides, right? That's kind of my favorite, is to have a skid and then you just put your battery in the side. Because you've got tons of space in there, right? I mean, look how much space we have. So that could be your batteries, or your ESC and your battery. If you want to lower your center of gravity quite a bit, just pop your ESC up, put it right there. And don't forget, we still have to add this ESC somewhere. So who knows? Maybe this will go back here on the trim tray, and then we can put our battery here. Maybe the battery will get out of here. Antenna. Do we really still need antennas, guys? I feel like there's a lot of electronics out there that don't use an antenna. So we can maybe just kind of do something like this. As long as it's not sitting on the drive shaft, that could actually just fit in there. All right, plenty of room. We'll just get a little mount or something. Yeah. I dig it. It's also going to matter how our interior sits too, right? Like if you got the interior, how low that sits. So we're going to have to make some adjustments, but we're going to make it work. So I think first things first, we're going to trim this battery tray. Look, we want to keep this mounting point here. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of trim it right about here. And then, let's see, it's like about halfway on here. And then probably just right about here on the diamond. Okay, so we'll trim that out, and we can always trim more. Always trim less to start, and then you can always go more if you need to go more, like we do. So let's trim a little bit more here. Looks like this center piece needs trimmed. Maybe right in here needs trimmed. All right, it looks like it needs to go right up to the mount, essentially. Right to where your mount is. There you go. I think this needs a little bit right here. Really doesn't take much. Give yourself that little bit of space. Remember, in these tiny things, millimeters are like inches. So there you go. Okay, put our screws back in, and we'll keep going. And now we're off to the drive shafts. Remember to phase your drive shafts. Phasing your drive shaft is making sure that the tabs here on the ends, I'll show you in just a second. There you go. Are as in line as possible, right? So, funny enough, these don't line up totally. There we go. Essentially, this tab here and this tab here are in line. See how that works? That also can be done by having the screws facing the same directions. So the screw is facing down and the screw is facing down. That means you're in phase. Being in phase means that the drive shaft's going to have less vibration and wobble under higher speed. It doesn't matter so much on these guys. I mean, it does a little bit, but it's more for, you know, go fast cars and things like that. So but knowing what that is a good thing. So we'll go ahead and get this guy put on. And remember, worm gears aren't designed to be moved from the axle side, the axle shaft side. This will not turn, right? But you turn it from this side. So just know that like these guys aren't supposed to move from the wheels, because the way the worm gear is designed does not allow it to turn. That's one of the things that makes worm gears kind of good for crawling is, you know, it's got a natural drag brake to it. All right, so this might be a pain, but we'll try to get it on there without having to pull off this end. There we go. Let's make sure it's on there nice and snug. And then you're going to have to turn the motor to get the drive shaft to turn if you need it to get the screw exposed. Here we go. Simple as that. Now we got to do the front. You can always use your driver to help you align it and then get it pushed on. There we go. Oh no. That's what I was worried about. Son of a. So one of the downsides of flipping the skid on here is the output shafts on the transmission are slightly different length, which means that now this longer side of the output shaft on the transmission is to the back versus the front. So our front drive shaft is a little sloppy and loose and could very easily pop out. So that's super unfortunate. I was hoping it would fit just about right. If this drive shaft was just a little longer, or the inside shaft was just a little longer, it would probably be fine. But that is the risk when you flip the skid. Again, the output shaft on one side versus the other is a little bit longer, so it kind of messes it up. So you can buy new drive shafts that are a little bit better length, or I'm going to try to flip this male shaft and this male shaft, because this one's probably longer, and hopefully this one's going to be long enough to be here, and this one will be long enough to be there. So we're gonna try to see if we can pull off this male shaft and the front male shaft, and maybe they'll fit. Well, guys, that's not going to work either. This one is still a little too short. Like, I can just, with the right adjust, with the right amount of pressure on it and whatnot, it'll pop out. I mean, it's holding right now, but there you go. See, didn't even take much for it to come out. So it's too short. What you really need to do, unfortunately, I was hoping you could do this without having to do anything else. We could just drop it in like the AX24 and it would just work. But it looks like we're going to at least need drive shafts. If you can get a second one of these guys, the longer one, then you can trim the second one for up here to fit in there just fine. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to find a stock drive shaft. We're going to trim it down just a couple millimeters. You want to make sure it can bottom out all the way, but that it's not so short that it falls out. So, I mean, let's see. If we stick this guy in there, yeah, we're basically going to trim off, pull it back out a little bit, that much from the spline on the end up here. So we'll trim about like that. And that'll be just fine. So unfortunately it didn't work. We just needed a little bit more length on this male piece on either side. So that's unfortunate that this male piece is literally just like maybe 3 millimeters too short. If it were just like that much longer, it'd be fine. Ugh, frustrating. All right, let me find another drive shaft. We'll keep going. Again, you don't have to deal with this if you flip it the other way, but then you're dealing with a whole different set of trying to figure out where to put stuff. So we're still going to have to do that, but I don't know. You got to remember, our plan is to try to move the battery forward, and at some point we'll probably put a honcho style cage on the rear, which means we're going to completely remove the bed and the battery tray, and so we will have definitely needed to move the battery anyway. So it's just a matter of how you want to do your build, and I think we end up with a pretty good solution here. So we snagged another male end, and basically that's the length you want. Okay. I don't even know what this is from. I don't know if this is an SCX or not, but it's fitting. So if you buy a second set of the stock stuff, it's basically this length here. Okay, so you're going to trim this guy down to this size, which looks like the total length will be right around 32 millimeters. And that guy should work in here just fine. Okay, bottoms out completely, and then we still have plenty of room. Perfect. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they give us such a stubby little guy when we have, this is like a deadbolt drive shaft. It barely even, I mean, look at it. It barely even goes in there anyway. I mean, even with the thing flipped, it's not gonna, I mean, there's not a lot of room there, but again, we're doing something we're not supposed to be doing, or that's not part of their design. I just wish they would give us just a little bit more, just a little bit more length on that front shaft. Okay. All good. All right, so we're getting kind of deep here, trying to figure out the best place to put the electronics. Could put this guy back here, but then the bed doesn't fit because it's a little too tall. You can see we decase this guy. So I think that's what we're going to do. We just pop this guy off this mounting plate here, pull the box out, super easy, like literally just push the little tabs, and the thing comes apart. There's little tabs on the side. And that gives us a lot more space. Even just the width of the case being back here was causing us some issues with space. So I'm going to try to actually tuck the ESC down between this ESC mount and the transmission. So I just need a couple millimeters there. So we're just going to trim this a little bit. About like so. Okay. And if we need to, we can always trim more, but this should be plenty. And even if we ended up doing this and then deciding, oh, that's not what we wanted to do, it's not a big deal. You can always put the ESC back in its case, and it'll still mount right there. Actually, a little bit of weight reduction, I guess. Anyway, so this allows us to kind of push this guy forward a little bit. Unfortunately, these little braces on the shock towers are kind of preventing us from moving the ESC too far forward, but we can move it forward just enough, and this should allow us to kind of tuck this down in here. Come on, motor wire. Boom. Okay. And we probably cut a little too much because I was hoping to have a little bit of snugness up against the transmission. Because I don't want it sitting on the drive shaft. So what I'd really love is if there was a brace right here. Any amount of brace, just a little bit, that could go right there. We're probably going to make it out of this case because you can put your ESC right in there, drop this guy in, flip it around so its plugs are facing the back, and then boom, drop this guy right in there. And still have plenty of room for your servo at full compression. I don't know if you can see in there, but plenty of room in there. So that would be nice if there was some sort of a brace built into these, just to where it's as low as it can go, to where it basically almost touches the servo. That would allow us to put micro batteries there, like tiny battery, or the ESC, or the receiver, or whatever. But now we'll have to make something, which is fine. But this should be able to go here. This guy should be able to go right in here. I don't know how we're going to mount the cable yet. Probably wrap it around and try to make it nice. Or we'll drop it down. We'll just drop it down there. And then our battery can actually fit right across here, like so. Okay, and that all should work with our stock. And it's pretty low. It's actually lower than the ESC when it was cased. Boom. Plenty of space. All that can be solved too if you wanted to just get sliders. So if you want to get sliders, that'd be another thing that would be nice if the SCX24 started coming with just some sliders, just basic ones, or even, I don't know, slider that held the battery on the side, like a mount for the side, right? Imagine if it was just like, mounts right there. That'd be perfect. Just wouldn't have to worry about it then. But we got to get creative right now as it is. And actually, it looks like you don't even have to decase it if you don't want to. You just got to pull it off, spin it around, and then you got to make a little bit of room because this guy kind of doesn't want to fit in here completely. I mean, we can go like this, right? But then our kind of hit on the servo. So you kind of, we'll probably put some screw in here. We'll put a screw in there, or we'll just glue it or something. But you basically need to get it pushed back just far enough to where your body will close. You can see the front of the body here. Let's see. It's kind of hard because we don't have it mounted, but if we can get just a little bit of room in there, make sure that our body's able to close with the ESC on there, I think we'll be golden. So what I'm going to probably do is, because the shock mounts are angled right here and it's hitting right here, I think I'm going to take the case and I'm actually going to just Dremel it down and trim it so it'll fit back a little further. Because right now it's just hitting on those shock towers. So if we can get it to scoot back, that'll help a ton. So I'm going to do that. All right, you can see I just Dremeled it back. Now again, once the ESC is back in here, it's still going to kind of protrude a little bit, but the case is, we've got a lot of empty space in there. So we can be able to take that and we're going to be able to push this guy back even further now. Look how far back it goes now. A lot more space. And again, we don't have to totally decase it. We can put it back in the case. That way you get some protection if you're worried about that. I would just decase it when you do if you Dremel it out to give yourself space. For sure. It's because you don't want to hit the board with the Dremel or something. But yeah, so there you go. Okay. And we also removed a little tab from our jumper. If you need to change the jumper, you'll have to get some pliers and pop it out or whatever, but you're probably not going to ever change that. And then let's see, we can tuck this wire through just a little bit and pull this guy in. Boom. Stupid antenna, go away. But yeah, look at that. Tons of space, tons of clearance underneath on the servo. So fully compressed. That's pushed against the servo. So we can actually just lift it. If you're looking at the mount here, we can just lift it just a little bit and that'll get us off the servo. So we'll have plenty of clearance there. Yeah, I think I might just throw a screw in right in here. Let's look. Put our body on. Oh yeah, plenty of clearance now. Only downside to putting a screw is you'll be able to see it through there, but not a big deal. So that'll work pretty well, I think. We'll put one screw on each side just to hold it up off the servo under here, and we should be really golden. Just make sure when you put your screws in that you're not going into the ESC. Again, the ESC has a lot of space underneath it. I don't know if you can see this. There's like a ton of space under there. So if you put the screw right at the bottom and you don't go super deep, you should be fine. As long as you're not hitting on these. So that could pose a problem. Or you can just glue it. Or double-sided. Actually, we're just going to double-sided tape it. There's no reason not to just throw some double-sided tape on there. And we'll just tape it. We're not going to screw anything. Well, screw up anything? I don't know. Maybe we screwed something up. But we're not going to screw anything into this ESC. Boom. So really all we had to do to the ESC after all that was just clear out some space so this would go back far enough. And trim our little jumper. Boom. Okay. Ah, that works so good. And then we'll servo tape this guy down, double-sided tape, and then our battery. We'll show you that in a minute. Yeah, still got clearance in our servo, plenty of clearance. And we'll just get this guy snug on the fenders. This stupid antenna. Yeah, good to go. All right, let's do the same with this guy. Bam, look at that, nice and clean. Our battery, we're gonna have to figure out a way to strap it in or rubber, maybe we'll do a rubber band or something. I'm not sure the best way to do this, but it basically just tucks right on there. And once the body's on, it's not going anywhere anyway, but we can do a rubber band or some sort of a mount. But yeah, boom. Perfect. No having to like force it down, like it fits perfect. Yeah, buddy. Dig that. So we didn't even have to cut this guy. So that's unfortunate, but whatever. Like I said, it wasn't a big deal if we did. All right, whatever. we'll figure out something about the battery, but let's check out this slow crawl. Watch this. Look at this. This is what this is about. Oh, look how slow it is. It's not even moving. It doesn't even look like it's moving, but it is. And we got plenty of wheel speed. So good, guys. So good. That's nuts. All right. We're going to button this guy up, get the body back on it. We're going to figure out a mount for this, and we're going to go drive it. I think I figured it out. I'm going to do something as simple as this. We're going to put a little slot right here. We're going to tuck this guy in and just, there we go, strap it right to it. Bam, little slot. Go ahead and take our Velcro and get it through there. Yeah. And then we have a battery strap. Seems good. Oh yeah, that's not going anywhere. Fan-frickin-tastic, guys. Oh yeah. I don't know why our ESC case keeps, I think we kind of took it on and off too many times, but whatever. That looks clean though, right? Very few wires. I mean, it's all battery wires. We could shorten this guy up if we really wanted to. I mean, hell, we could probably not use this extension cable if we wanted to. That's a little tight. I don't want to break it off the board. I kind of like the cable here. You could plug it straight in, but I like the cable just because it means I'm pulling in and out of the cable, so that way I don't pull in and out of the board, which is a little bit more ideal, I think, to use the cable. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty clean. All right, so now we just need to get the body back on, remounted. I don't know if we're going to do that for sure forever. I think I kind of want to use, I showed it in the review video, I think I want to use these tinker cages on the back. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. Should we tinker time this guy? I'll have to figure out another way to mount the body, but yeah, that could be cool, I think. We still use the Velcro in the front. This will be permanently mounted back here. Maybe we'll slot this in, cut some slots, and this can slot in and Velcro down on the front. You know what I mean? Slot in, Velcro down. I don't know. Maybe. Tell me what you think down in the comments below. All right, guys, it's all mounted up just like stock, and it is close. It actually hits. So I was anticipating the cab being a little bit more forward than it was, but guess what? It doesn't take much. You just kind of push forward and you're good. Velcro's on. Totally, totally good. Flush all the way. That bumper goes totally flush to the grill. And we are golden. Battery's nice and snug. Nothing's coming out. Nice and clean install. Actually turned out better than I thought it would. The only thing that you'd have to buy is a drive shaft, or you know, don't mount it backwards. Get some skids, because you definitely wouldn't be able to mount your motor forward with the way we've got this guy set up. So yeah, all good now. What is that? Hold on. What are we hitting on? Oh, I think we were rubbing when we had the battery on, pushed, kind of tucked down on there. It's pushing the motor back, and it's actually rubbing on the tray here. So we need to trim our tray just a little bit. It's only because you can see when we push our battery down, it kind of, yeah. So if we don't do that, we're good. Scared me for a second. Woo! All right, so we're going to trim this guy up a little bit just so we know we got plenty of clearance. We're good. Pretty slick, guys. I'm ready. Okay, trim that guy out just a little bit, so now we're good. Plenty of clearance, and man, that slow crawl is just nuts. Like, that's absolutely nuts. And we haven't even gotten into the app or tuned the app or anything. I guess that's what we should do next. Walk through the app a little bit. I have a video deep diving the app over here. We're just going to do the basics to get started. I want to do the update and show how to calibrate. Even though it seems like we're good here, you definitely want to update. You definitely want to calibrate, and then you're good to go. I'm excited. All right, so the first thing you almost always want to do is update your app. Make sure the app is up to date. If you've already had it installed on your phone, updating it will make sure that you don't have any weird glitches or anything like that. Super fast, super easy. Just always update. Then you can go ahead and hit open. Takes you straight to the app. And there we go. Connect to our Bluetooth car. We can go in here. We can see that we're on hardware version 1.6, firmware 1.9. On the Lizard Pro, we can go to update firmware. And it looks like it's already on the newest update. So that's good. It's already got the FCX or FX118 Venom motor update, which is awesome. So we're good to go on the update. Updating is very easy though. You just choose which firmware you want and click update, and it takes maybe 2 minutes to update. If you ever have any issues, just close out of the app completely, restart your ESC, come back in after restarting your ESC, and the update will continue or finish. Sometimes it goes into what's called boot mode, but we are totally good here. We've got our car type, crawler, brushless, Venom motor, set our temperature protection, can change our Bluetooth name, all that good stuff. You can even put a password if you're out with a bunch of people all the time crawling. Maybe you don't want people going in and changing your ESC. So name your ESC and put a password in. Next, we're going to go ahead and go to throttle, and this is where we calibrate. So when I do a calibration, I'll always put the truck on its back because you don't want something to go wrong with the calibration and then you end up driving off the table or something. So all you gotta do is hit calibrate. It's gonna ask, are you sure? Say yes. It'll beep a couple times. It's gonna ask you to set your throttle to 0, which means no throttle. So just get your remote to sit to 0. This is gonna set your center point. Say okay. Then you're gonna set your max speed. So give it full throttle. Say okay. You'll see up there, it only said 79. Now it says 100, and then we're gonna do max brake, which only says 79. We'll say okay. Let go, save it, and now our throttle should go all the way to 100 on both sides, or at least close. There we go. Okay, so remember, first you're going to do neutral, then you're going to do full throttle, then you'll do full brake or full reverse, same thing, and then you're going to be done. So that's all you got to do. I would highly recommend checking out my video on the deep dive on this so that you know what all these different settings do. You have different voltage cutoffs and all that kind of stuff. So definitely want to learn about the app. The app is super cool. It's one of the coolest parts of the Furitek stuff that you can do it, change it all on the fly. It's literally, you don't have to like hit save or anything. It just saves as you make changes on the fly. So before we go run it real quick, I just want to show the new weight bias with everything forward, the battery forward and all that. The only thing that's back is the motor, but it used to be right about here and now it's here. So you can see if we pick it up from here, it's pretty balanced. Right? But if we pick it up from where it originally was, look how much forward weight bias there is now. So we moved the center of gravity essentially from a front to rear weight bias forward just a little bit. So that definitely is going to help. The battery itself is pretty much in the same spot, right? Like as far as the height is concerned. So it's not like the battery's higher up. So we didn't really raise our center of gravity at all. Maybe a little bit on this receiver here. But the ESC is now here, so I don't know, maybe we moved it up just a tiny bit, the center of gravity from a height-wise, but it's definitely more forward weight bias now, which is going to be super helpful when we're trying to climb verticals, and yeah, I'm digging it. So, yeah. It's almost like a little more forward than that right there. We need to get some scales for weight, so we can do some before and afters, but yeah. Let's go run it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. This thing's awesome. Such a great entry for somebody's first brushless, being able to just have the ESC, a good ESC, and then the Venom motor, just toss it in there, and you're brushless, man. Like, it's so good. The price point on it's really good as well. Make sure you check down below. We'll have a link to Furitek.com where you can pick one up. And yeah, it's such a great entry point for sure. And again, you can always upgrade later to like a cedar or a micro Komodo or a mini Komodo if you want like a pancake style. Mind you, you'll have to be able to fit it in your rig, but you know, the way we've got this guy set up, you could definitely fit a pancake motor or the cedar. Pancake motor, yeah, you should have plenty of room with your interior. Worst case, you might have to trim your interior a little, but again, you can always change how your layout is. This is just how we chose to do it, and I really dig it. Like I said, a big part of why we installed it this way was because we needed to move our battery forward and a lot of our electronics forward because we wanted to put this rear cage here on the back. So that'll be perfect. We'll be able to get rid of this battery tray and all that, and this guy will drop right in there, and we should be good to go. So we'll do that in another video. We're also going to do a bunch of axial upgrades on this guy. So make sure you like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell so you know when those new videos go up. Why don't you put down in the comments below if you watched the whole video. The Venom is amazing. Put that down in the comments. That way I know you watched the whole video. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about this guy. It's like I said, it's a great entry point for somebody's first brushless, or if you're just looking to kind of save a few bucks, but go brushless, definitely worth it. Also, guys, make sure you check out all of our other videos on the Furitek stuff. We have a deep dive video on how to set up the app, so definitely look for that. Also, we appreciate all the channel members and all the subscribers. Subscribing is just a click for you, but it means the world to us. And then as far as channel members are concerned, if you don't know, we do have memberships where you can pay a small little monthly fee, like $1, like maybe $2 for one of them. Oh, and there's a couple different tiers, and you can check that out when you click on the membership tab. But members get early viewing to all the videos that we're allowed to show early. And you get no ads on those videos, which is pretty cool. And then there's also member-only posts, member-only videos, and other perks. You get priority commenting or replies to comments, stuff like that. A whole bunch of cool stuff. Also, it just helps support the channel. Without you guys doing that stuff, without the channel members, without the subscribers, without the people that click the affiliate links, we wouldn't be able to do this anymore. It adds up very quickly when you're trying to stay up with some of the new stuff. We don't get a ton of free products, so we have to buy it all, and it definitely helps the channel by you guys supporting like that. So thank you a ton to everybody that does that. We also have some swag. We got hoodies, t-shirts, stuff like that. If you've got any logo design ideas, not logos, but like t-shirt design ideas that incorporate our logo, we've got 2 different logos. Check that out on our swag website. But if you got any ideas like that, shoot them over. You could shoot them over to theshopminirc@gmail.com, or if you have any questions at all, shoot over emails there. Channel members, again, get priority. If you're not a channel member, it might be a while before I get back to you because I do get a lot of messages. Anyway, guys, enough on that. Definitely check out the Furitek Venom and Lizard Pro combo. Super sick, well worth it. That price point's just awesome, and it really transforms these rigs. I mean, you saw the slow crawl. It's still got great wheel speed. Didn't really highlight that in our crawling video, but plenty of wheel speed, which is awesome. So I'm excited to get this guy upgraded. It'll be cool to put the honcho cage on there, all the brass stuff. We're going to have to definitely change the servo at some point. But then I think we're going to be golden. It should be pretty slick. We also have some Nex Racing oil-filled shocks and some reservoir shocks. They're true reservoir, which look sweet. We've used our 18th scale ones on the TRXs, and they are freaking awesome. So keep an eye out for that video coming soon as well. All right, guys, I appreciate all the views, appreciate your time. And yeah, if you know anybody looking for a brushless system, point them to this video so that they can see what it's all about. All right, guys, get out there, build something awesome, build a car, build a course, build a community, and then smash it, crash it, and bash it, but don't break the expensive parts. Peace.